Here's the honest truth. Success is not about the age or stage of your equine business. It's about knowing where you want to go and using that vision of success as your filter for every decision along the way. Because when you have a clear vision and a system for measuring your personal version of success, then you can make confident, strategic decisions for your equine business. And that's what we do inside of Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program. It's a personalized one-on-one business coaching program for equestrian entrepreneurs ready to ditch the marketing overwhelm, overcome the roadblocks holding you back, and grow an equine business that meets your version of success. Friends, you know this about me. I am not here to promise you millions of followers or viral moments because that's for influencers. But if you want to connect with the right people and build a business that works for you, then I'm your coach. I have 8 slots available right now, and once they fill, I will not be opening slots again until 2026. So I invite you to head to stormlily.com/reins, get all the information, apply today, and let's work together to build your dream equine business. Hi there. Welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get to host you here on the podcast. And before we dive in and you meet today's fun guest, I want to quickly introduce myself and then we'll jump into how to know your strength and own it and why that's so important as you build your business. But as I said, first, a quick introduction. Now, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners like yourself to ditch the marketing overwhelm, get the clarity they've been craving, and grow their equine business in a way that meets their definition of success. Now, I do this primarily through business and marketing coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you all as well. All that I do here, friends, is so that you, as an equestrian entrepreneur, can be out in the barn or in the arena doing what it is that you love. And so here on this podcast in particular, you can expect a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you not only see what's possible for your business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And one of the ways that we do that here on the podcast is by introducing you to fellow equestrian entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their own business growth journey. And so today we're going to do that. I'm introducing you to a new friend that you're going to love. But here's why I think this particular interview is so important for you. Because I have a feeling that you have had the feeling yourself of needing to be all things to all people. At some point in your journey, this is so common for equestrian entrepreneurs. If you're a photographer, it may look like feeling like you need to photograph everything in order to be successful. You need to be a portrait photographer, an event photographer, fine art, do custom work. You need to be affordable, but you also need to be luxury. You need to do senior pictures and family pictures and commercial shoots and branding, right? Everything to all people, and you feel like you need to say yes a lot. And that's just one example. It could apply to anywhere inside of your equine business. And of course, if you've been in that beginning stage before, we know you have. Anyone who's been in that beginning stage knows you're going to say yes a lot more than you say no in the beginning because you're learning what it is you're good at, what it is you enjoy most, what you love to create, what people love to experience. But at some point, you'll find your sweet spot. And then it's time to quit saying yes to everything and to really double down on what you know works and what you can deliver on. And that is good news, friends, because you actually do not have to be all things to all people to build a successful, sustainable equine business. Actually, it's the opposite. And honestly, today, this is not about niching down. While you have heard me talk about that and the importance of that here on this podcast, this is more about knowing your strengths and owning them and leaning into them. So if you have been spinning your wheels, now or in the past, trying to do all the things in your business, then Megan is going to be a breath of fresh air to you. Now, Megan Hensley is known as the Donkey Farrier. You may have heard of her online. And today she's going to share with us how she has built her thriving brand by focusing on one thing and doing it with excellence. You're going to hear her specificity and her promise in what she does. You're going to hear her mindset of enoughness come through, the courage to ask for help and get a coach, and the willingness to keep learning and even unlearning, and how those things have shaped her success. But especially, I hope that you are inspired and encouraged to embrace your own strengths so that you can build a business that reflects who you truly are. After all, as I said, we're here to build an equine business that meets your version of success, and knowing who you are is a part of that process. All right, let's dive in. I cannot wait for you to meet Megan Hensley. Okay, Megan, thanks so much for joining me here. I really appreciate your gift of time, and I can't wait to personally learn more about your story and your business. But first, just thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I love, doing these, so I was really excited when you reached out. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yes, I'm excited. So for me, I only know like a tidbit of your information, but some of my followers, or sorry, listeners, may not know as much. So what I would love to do first is hear a bit about your journey and your background. And I always say up front, I know this is a big question, and sometimes an entire podcast could be the story of your business and how you got here. But tell us the highlights of your story, how you got into the horse world, the donkey world, and now becoming what you're commonly known as the Donkey Farrier.
Yeah. Alright, yeah, I'll give you the timeline snapshot. Tr Classic horse crazy girl, raised by a single mom, begged for the horse all the time. Found used to sit and read coffee or drink coffee and look at the classified ads to find, like, where I was gonna go learn to ride, and I ended up finding that, a gal I went out and took lessons, and then she put me to work, another kinda classic story, the horse
Yes.
crazy girl that ends up shoveling poop. So I did that for, like, 3.5 years. She was a polo rider, so I ultimately went from scooping poop to her groom, and so my writing background is English, based, and then from there, I didn't stop. I ended up working at a breeding farm for quarter horses where I have my, horse that I have now who's 27. I bought him when he was 6 months old. He's
Aw.
still with me, and then I would go on to join the military, and then from the military, I would join the California Conservation Corps, which is a thing here in California where you do natural resource work, and from there, I ended up in the backcountry, like, in the wilderness, on a trail crew, and that would probably be where things started to shift because I was going to become a packer. That was gonna be my next adventure. So I do love adventures from the time I was young. You can tell I like to go on adventures. So I finished up that backcountry stint and I thought, "Well, this is it. I'm gonna go work for the Forest Service and live in the woods and ride mules and take stuff out to people." And when I applied for that job, they said, "Well, you've got all the qualifications. We just need you to learn how to shoe horses." And I said, "All right, no problem." And I went and found an apprenticeship. And from that apprenticeship, I worked for a year with a local farrier, and he worked with a lot of donkeys. Worked with a lot of horses too, but he worked with a lot of donkeys. And, he said right off the bat, he's like, "Listen, donkeys are super underserved, they're misunderstood." Um, we were already getting kinda roasted locally, about, oh, the hippy dippies that are working with the donkeys and sweet talking them or whatever. He was also a very gentle, like, kind of a little bit before his time, or maybe it was starting to get popular then, but, the natural horsemanship. He was a quote unquote "cowboy," but he wasn't cowboying animals. He was doing a lot of gentle starting, and all of that kind of flowed into all of the work that he did. So I was super blessed to land that type of an apprenticeship. And I was still bound for the mountains. I was going to go do that, but then he found his love online and ended up getting married and was going to move away. And he said, "Would you, do you wanna take this business? Because I'm leaving and everybody knows you. And in that moment, I had a choice and I chose the business. And I kept donkeys at the forefront of my business. That was in 2006. So, and by 2007, I went to horseshoeing school. So from 2006 to 2007, I apprenticed for a full year. And then I went to horseshoeing school in 2007. And when I came back, it was a few months and he moved away. And then so from 2007 on, I just carried on, and donkeys were at the forefront of my business. I was always the one that would go out and trim the untrimmable, or someone had a donkey that couldn't be handled or didn't want its feet done. So I just have been doing that, and all with very untraditional methods that the farrier industry, um, like I said, really misunderstands donkeys, and because of that, they've severely underserved them for a really, really long time. And so I just trim the donkeys, and then in what would it be? Well, then I would leave traditional horseshoeing. In about 2010, I discovered Pete Ramey, and from there I was like, "Okay." And I when I do something, I kinda go all in. So I was like, "No steel shoes anymore." And I just sold my anvils, sold all of my stuff that I had just bought, like, 3.5 years prior, and just went all in on natural hoof care and continued to do the donkeys. And then in 2000, gosh, 10, 11, 12. By 2012, I was starting to teach owners how to trim their own horses and their own donkeys, but this was in person. So, like, if you were my client, I would
Mhm.
and you had an interest in it, I would have said, "Oh, here, let me show you how to do it." And then, let's see, what was it? 2000, right before, so 2017, I was getting a little bored again because that happens to me. And I told my husband, I said, "I think I wanna take this show on the road." And I said, "I'm gonna start advertising." Um, because sorry, let me go back a little bit. I was getting a lot of traction on my Facebook page because I was
Mm.
starting to share a lot of my videos with donkeys and just my journey in general. And more people were saying, "Can you come trim my donkey? Can you come trim my donkey? I need help." Or they were telling me horrible stories about what happened to their donkey, which I knew all of these things, um, were happening. And that's when I told my husband, I was like, I'm gonna go on the road." And so I ran a couple Craigslist ads in a few counties south and east of me, about 2 to
Mhm.
3 hours, and the response was incredible. I had more people than I could work for, and so I started doing these big circuits that actually took me all the way down to San Diego, Los Angeles, all the way around to, because California is pretty big, so I'm talking like 10-hour drives all the way down and looping, and I was doing these big loops, and that had become so much fun. And I think I really built some serious chops. I already had some good chops with donkeys, but when I started doing this, like, I really went into the trenches and started seeing a lot of stuff, and I started to teach the donkey owners, started making it like, "Listen, my circuits are a little too long, so I need you to start taking the rafts while I'm gone," and doing these things. And then what I saw is like, "Oh my gosh, the donkeys do really well with their owners trimming."
Mm.
Donkeys are, a bit like, I think of them sometimes as like parrots, how they, can kind of get, they really can bond deeply with their owners. And they can bond deeply with me as well because I make that a priority with them. But so when an owner goes if an owner wants to learn to start trimming their own donkey, it can the connection and the skill building and the willingness from the donkey, can really happen very fast. And I was like, "That's interesting. They really like that." And so does the owner. And so then I did that from 2017, 18, 19, and just into early 2020, and then you know what happened in 2020.
Right. Yeah.
The
Quite a change.
virus.
Yeah. Yeah.
The virus. And so I was like, "Oh, dang." I had just started taking care of an elderly lady. That's a whole 'nother story, but
Mm.
no, that's a whole 'nother adventure. And had to choose. I was like, I don't think I can keep traveling I wasn't so worried about myself, I was worried about bringing something back to her because I was an essential worker, so I was legally allowed to continue working,
Okay.
so I stopped, and then so did the money.
Yeah.
And, that is when the online course was born.
Really? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
which man, didn't online courses everything explode in 2020? Like,
Yeah.
everybody's story of how they got to that piece is different for sure, but there are a
Mhm.
lot of similarities of and then 2020 and I had to think differently or I had to yeah, create something different.
Yeah.
So online course became your way of not traveling and interacting with people one-on-one physically, but
Mhm.
virtually getting to train. So the course was, for those listening that don't know, it was, specifically for donkey owners and how
Yes.
to care for their hooves.
Yeah, so what happened, it was just I had already been getting from about 2000 mid-2018 to 2020, there were people around the world that were messaging me, my Facebook group had grown to, like, 8K, and it's just people from all over the world that were like, I need you, I can't find someone like you to trim my donkeys. Can you teach me how to do it? Can you teach me online?" And I was super resistant to it. I was like, "No, there's no way I can teach this online. There's just no way." I was super scared. I was afraid that, I don't know, I just thought, what if someone's gonna hurt their donkey or just, I just had all the reasons, and plus I was still really stuck in that mindset of, like, work, do the job, get paid, do the
Trade
job,
time
get
for money.
paid.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I also really loved it too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so by the time the 2020 came around, it had already been in my head. Um, I've been thinking about it, but I just didn't think I could really do it. And so 2020 really pushed me off the ledge. I was standing on the edge of like, okay, you've got a choice here. And
Mhm.
it was the best thing I ever did. I hired a coach and built my course out in 6 weeks. Launched
Mhm.
it launched it live because I am a bit of a fly by the seat of my pants. I was having trouble. So, yeah, for folks that are listening, if you're having trouble putting your course together and,
Mhm.
like, worried that it's gotta be perfect before you put it out there. I wrote my lessons, like, the night before. Well, I had my outline, and then I wrote my lessons the night before, and then I went live with my founding members, and I had about, 35 founding members, and it sold out in less than, like, 4 hours when I launched it. It was wild, and so and
That's
then
awesome.
for 6 weeks, I just launched it live, and it's a totally different course now. This is 5.5 years ago, so I've updated it several times, but that
Mhm.
was how I got it out into the world.
Yeah, and so I bet that was I'm guessing, you could tell me, that was super life-giving to get to connect with people from different walks of life and locations and see that you could still help them even if you weren't physically in person with them.
Yes, it was a blast, and it worked. That was the biggest part, like, people
Yeah,
were doing it. I was looking at before and after photos, and then all of this, "Oh, my donkey that normally, like, hated the farrier was just, like, doing so well for the owner, and their trims were turning out beautiful." It was very life-giving and super, like, affirming, and I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, I can do this." And then also the level of income that it started to bring in for me allowed me not only to take care of myself and my herd, but this elderly lady that I took care of, I was able to elevate her quality of life.
that's
True.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool, yeah. I DoorDashing her French dips and, from her favorite restaurant that, she'd already lost a lot of mobility prior, so she hadn't really been out to restaurants in a while. So, yeah, it was really fun.
Aw,
It was, I'm super, super grateful for it for so many reasons, and I do absolutely love, like, the impact that I've been able to make with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that was 5.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So then it sounds like you continue to launch it. And so that is something you launch once or twice a year. How does that work for you? And what's kind of shifted? And from what I see online, if I remember correctly, you're now still doing some physical work for clients. Did you end up going back to that once the pandemic eased off, or is that just something you do for people that you've kind of had that ongoing relationship with, or how does that work now?
Yeah, so there were some clients that I kept, especially local clients. I had semi-retired. I was trying to semi-retire. I think any farrier that might be listening to us, Lord knows we're all trying to quote unquote semi-retire, but we don't really want to stop. But it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, my hand, my back, like I don't want to stop
Yeah.
trimming donkeys ever. Like,
Mhm.
meeting new donkeys is some of my favorite things, especially the ones that can't be trimmed or whatever. I'm like, "Let me get in there."
Uh-huh.
But, so I kept working, like, part-time, and then I did a couple stints where I was traveling down to a donkey rescue about 3 hours from me. I did that for a while. But, yeah, mostly right now, I just sometimes I'll throw a thing up and say, "Hey, I'm going to the foothills," and then people will hit me up if they need some help. But, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm down to just, like, a handful of local clients.
Mhm. And so
Yeah.
it's mostly your online stuff now. So you still just have the one course that's like your main core offer, is that right?
Yes, I have my main core offer, and I've played around in the lot in the last 5.5 years. Um, I've had my course as a level 1 and a level 2. I've had it in accelerator format where we did 6 months at a time. I've had options where you can take it as self-study or add on 6 or 12 months of coaching. I've had, I've launched it. I've had it as evergreen. I've really
You
played
really have played
around.
with that, which I want people to hear that too.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
you hear all the time of people saying, like, take your one offer and continue to relaunch it, but learn what works for people, what doesn't work for
Yeah.
people. And like, that's some people get like shiny object syndrome, right? And just completely ditch the offer and think they have to create
Oh, yeah.
something completely new. And so I love that you're sharing, hey, I had this one and we just continue to play with it, but it doesn't mean you have to ditch what you did before.
Yeah, no, I have w my I am not creating a lot of stuff. I did do some little, like, one-off, workshops a few times, and those were more like um paid lead magnets, really. I'm like, come to my particular workshop, and those often convert really well. Those are fun too, because then people get to see you live. If you're someone who enjoys live, I love live. Like, if you said, "Megan, hop on a plane right now and come give a presentation about that, that, that," I would literally jump on the plane and go and put my
Mhm.
presentation together, like, either on the plane or maybe not at all. Maybe I would just fly by the seat of my pants. So it kinda depends on what type of a person
Yeah.
you are, like, what your teaching style is. Um, so that's really fun. So it works live workshops can be really great for converting people into your main offer. But yeah, no, I have I do one core thing, and that is I'm someone who helps donkey owners take hoof trimming into their own hands so that they can become independent of a farrier, so they can resolve chronic hoof issues and build a deeper connection with their donkey. That's really what I do. Those are the results that my students get. They become capable of trimming and being really good at it. And the farrier industry sometimes likes to say that that's not true, but there's too much pudding out there that not just myself, but a bunch of other
Mhm.
people, the proof is in the pudding. We can and do teach owners how to trim, and they can become really good at it because trimming isn't like rocket science. You're learning to read the hoof. Um, you're learning about anatomy and you're learning about hoof function. And then when you put that all together, you can make smart decisions.
Okay, so I want to shift real quickly because I want to ask you about the challenges you've experienced along the way. Like, I love that it's been a journey. And so, some people that are listening are going to latch on to what you've done the past 5.5 years because digital offers have 100% exploded for sure. There's more interest in the idea, people are becoming more comfortable with it. But that's a a quarter of your business time, right? So it's been like almost 20 years, I think, of building the business. So the digital offers is important, but I have a feeling even along the way, and you kind of hinted to that, right? And the idea of that people were like, what in the world, they're focusing on donkeys. You had to niche down and be okay with people not being okay with what you're doing. So I'm just guessing at some of the challenges, but I'd love to hear from you. In the past 19 and a half, 20 years, talk to us about some of the things that have surprised you or challenged you as you've built your business through the years, including the past 5.5. But I'd love for you to even dip into the other part where you were, quote unquote, just servicing people, because we have a lot of people who are listening who are still service based and
Yeah.
one-on-one time with clients and building that part of their business as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, inside the farrier industry in particular, and I'm a pretty relentless and outspoken about some of the shortcomings in that industry, and particularly around donkeys. So I have never been very popular in my actual industry.
Mm.
Like, I don't get roasted as much anymore because you can't come to my page or look at my website or look at my 100 reviews, 5-star reviews on my Facebook page. Right. People don't have much ground anymore to roast me because they can't. I've got
Yeah,
too
how do
much.
they argue with it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for a very long time, it still happens every now and then, but for a very long time, even before, so it started when I stopped shoeing, when I stopped steel shoeing, then I was, a hippie, and then, oh, I was too gentle and sweet with the animals, like, I was always told I was gonna get myself killed, or, I wasn't teaching the animals any manners or whatever, yet, I can walk out with these donkeys that people were heavily restraining before, and I can stand in the middle of a field with them with no halter on or anything and trim them, and I've remained incredibly safe my whole life,
Mhm.
so I look at animals differently too. What I think of them as sentient, emotionally intuitive animals that are incredibly intelligent, and all you have to do is just communicate with them what it is that you want and what you wanna do to them. So that I was always a black sheep or an odd duck from that perspective, but when it came to the people that I was helping, the people who sought me out, I mean, we made a huge difference in their animals' lives when we worked together. And so, that was a challenge, though, it's, I think maybe I was born to be a rebel or be on the outskirts, because, like, when something's not right, then it's wrong. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I will draw a hard line with stuff like that. And I'm not saying that I'm just always right about everything. I've found my way through things, but, like, I know when something isn't right. And I'm not going to conform or do things because people say they need to be done a certain way when I know that there's something better, like, we don't have to be harming animals or emotionally distressing them, and so, the challenge, I guess, of being a rebel, but it's fun, That's the one thing, and when you connect with your people, I don't need to serve everybody. I need the right people that are drawn to me, that want the type of transformation that I can help offer them, and they come. And that's because too, like, I just stick to my guns and stay who I am. And then it just, it brings the right people to me. But there's some times where, it's, I don't know, it can sting sometimes, especially if you really want someone to get what you're doing and they're not really getting it. Um, that can, being an outsider, sometimes it feels weird. But at the same time, I was niching down and didn't quite realize it. I mean, I knew that I wanted to serve donkeys. And it was becoming more and more apparent through the years that, like, all I really wanted to do was work with donkeys, and people would call me for horses and, I'd say no, or I'd do that thing where we raise our prices way up. Willing to pay it to go. Um, like, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, if they're gonna pay me that much, I will go trim the horse." And I do love horses. I love horses so much. I have my own horse. I have miniature horses, but yeah, donkeys were Um, outcasts too, they just super underserved, and so, yeah, I was niching down, didn't quite realize it. Then when I really started to realize it, I went all in, and
Mm,
that's when I quoted myself as the Donkey Farrier and started traveling.
mhm.
And that was such a big hit, like, my circuits were jam-packed, and people were paying me top dollar to show up, um, you know, to see their donkeys, and that's when I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm making better money, I'm having way more fun, and I'm feeling like I'm really making a difference now. So all of those things coupled together, I think, were a recipe for good things and building on what I would eventually create. Those years of me traveling like that, like I said too, also really put me in the trenches, and I said really
Yeah.
built chops as well. So
Yeah, well, and what also happened is that you from a marketing perspective, which we'll get there, but, like, you were one-on-one with the people you were going to serve. So, like, you maybe weren't sitting in the car and taking notes every time you got in the car and about what you learned about people, but you were learning about your audience, and
Oh,
so it was setting you up for when you got to that time, which oftentimes when I get clients that come in the door, like, they don't always super know about their audience. They're guessing because they haven't been
right.
listening and paying attention. And so it sounds like you were even listening and paying attention, and people were already asking you for what you created, which
Yes.
is huge, which is so huge. But talk to me about were there challenges for you when you did move to that? Okay, I'm going to do a digital offer, I'm going to create a course. Did you have any challenges in that process, even mental blocks about that? Or was it just like gung ho, this is what we're doing?
Well, yeah, so the blocks kinda came before, I think. Well, no, there has been a lot of challenges though, so I was like, "Oh my god, I don't think I can do this." And then I got my coach, and my coach was like, "You can do this? You can do anything." And I was like, "Okay." And then I didn't get my course. My biggest challenge in the very beginning was putting my course together.
Okay.
I couldn't script it, and I wasn't doing it. And that's when she finally said, "Then Megan, launch it live." She's like, "If you can't get your butt in gear and get this course built out, then you're gonna have to launch it live." And I just thought, "Okay, yeah, that actually sounds way better." And then I whipped up the outline of what the 6 weeks was gonna be, and then I pre-sold it, on my birthday, and that's how I got myself in gear, because
Okay.
I
Mhm.
was stuck spinning my wheels because, "Oh, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be that," and then I'd record something, and then I'd go and listen to myself, and I'd be like, "Oh, you sound so stupid, like, what's wrong with you? Who do you think you are?" You
Uh-huh.
know, that may happen to some people, may not everybody. Maybe some people really want to hear themselves. I generally don't wanna hear myself.
It's
Uh
not uncommon for people not to like how they sound. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, or you might go back and go like, "Oh, you didn't quite teach that right.
Mhm.
Actually, it's this, or whatever," and we're never gonna just teach it all perfectly, and we can always, change things or clarify later. So then I launched it. My biggest struggle, and still is the freaking tech. I'm with Kajabi, and I
That
love
was gonna be my next question was if you were doing all that tech yourself.
I
Okay.
was. I've done
Yeah.
everything by myself.
Yeah, that's a
I
big
have
deal.
I've never had a virtual assistant, I've never had anything,
Okay.
and I'll tell you what, I've built a hell of a business not knowing what I'm doing with my tech. So you can do it. Basically,
Right.
if you can put a checkout button, that's the most important part. You want the
Mhm.
pay now to work, and
Yeah.
then and then once they're in, I've had problems with my sequences. Sometimes I don't write the email sequences, and so, I've had my Zoom crash on me. I've built some of the jankiest websites, paid landing pages, janky, but people still pay me. And it's because of who I am and what I do and what I can make happen for them. And
Yeah.
because they see me in my social media or my YouTube videos or my live events, um, people get to know who I am. So anybody can do this. You can do this. You don't need fancy stuff. Now I'm starting to get better with Kajabi 5.5 years later. And I've been building out some better pages and but still, if you went to my website right now, it is not fancy. And my lead magnet page pulls in, 20 leads a day. Easy, signing
Is
up.
that organic or paid ads? Are you doing
That's
paid ads?
organic.
That's organic.
But I
Yeah.
think that I am I am starting to dabble with ads, but I know not everybody's gonna get that kind of organic traffic. I had been building a very large audience. Um, that was something too that was happening before I even created an online course, is my Facebook group and my Facebook page was garnering a lot of
Mhm.
followers and engagement, and people were interested in me, so that I
Yeah.
think that helps a lot. So if you're not getting a lot of organic leads, there's nothing wrong with you. It just kinda depends on what was going on before you got started.
Yeah. You were building an audience before without it sounds like because you just wanted to serve the community
I
maybe? Is
did.
that what I'm hearing? You were just like, "I'm
Yeah.
building this because I wanna serve the community," and then eventually it evolved.
Yeah, because I was putting, like, videos of me trimming donkeys, because donkey owners are told, "Oh, you gotta halter them up, snub them up, they better behave for the farrier, you better sedate them." Sometimes people will call to a farrier to get their, donkey trimmed, and the farrier will say, "Sure, I'll show up, just make sure they're sedated before I get there." And
Just
that
as a
just
standard practice.
Yeah, like, "Oh, you got a donkey, sedate it before I get there," and so I was doing a lot of videos where I was just simply trimming donkeys at liberty out in the field. I was showing people how I took a donkey that didn't want their feet picked up and how I pick up their feet, um, and people really were digging that, and a lot of my free content helps a lot of people. There are plenty of people who've never paid me a dime,
Mhm.
that are using my work or my methods,
Mhm.
which I love. I think that's incredible. Not everybody's gonna be in a position to invest, so I do love when my free content can help people get where they want to be with their donkeys, if it's making their donkeys' lives better. And then a lot of my colleagues started to watch my stuff and, learn, um, from me, which was really cool, and become even more donkey centric and start serving them in their business.
That's super cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've touched on it a little bit. I want people to hear from you because you did start out, um, with a I feel like you started out in a really cool place because you definitely started out with a business that existed, so you weren't necessarily starting from scratch, which is really cool. But that doesn't mean you never had to market your business in the past 19 and a half years. So talk to me about what that process looked like for you. Did you kind of like shun marketing? Some people are like, "I hate it." Some people are like, "I love social media." Kinda tell me about what that process looks like for you.
Yeah, so I think I might be like I was about to say, "Girl, you gotta get on there and toot your own horn. Toot, toot, toot," like, all the time. That's, which can feel really uncomfortable, but if you're doing something and you're good at it
Yeah.
and you're making a difference for either that person or that animal, and probably in this business, it's both. You're making an impact for the owner of the equine, and then the equine is benefiting from what you're doing, then, you've gotta talk about what you do and who you are, and tell people, because until you start getting reviews, if you don't have a lot of reviews yet, because that's another way is you can just take what other people have said about you and throw it online. But yeah, I post all the time, or I used to post a lot more, and it can become a little tiring, but you've got to, toot your own horn. You got to say, listen, this is what I do. This is how I can help you. These are the things this is why your animal's going to feel better. And not really try to just be real about it. Um, I have been learning, like, more marketing techniques, but, like, the best if you're gonna create ads, or just some of my best posts are me riffing, where I'm just like, "Hey, check out this donkey. This is what it was doing before. This is what we're doing together. This is what their owner and them are doing together." Just kinda talking about what it is that you do that helps people, in an authentic way. Sometimes that authentic word is used a lot, but really it is. It's just about being yourself. Like, and I'm just a super outgoing kind of, you know, let's get it done type person, and other people might be more subtle or quiet and just you're going to draw in the right people. So through your posts, just be yourself and be excited about yourself. You're special. You're doing something. Maybe the online business has exploded a lot, but there is still room for you because you're you and what you're doing is unique and what you're going to bring to the table is beautiful. And you got to believe those things about yourself.
So good. So true. Did you get to that place naturally, or has that been a process for you? Like I'm curious. I can't quite tell. Some people just like don't struggle with those limiting beliefs. Did you have limiting beliefs that were holding you back that you had to conquer to get to where you could say these things to others and yourself? Or have you always kind of been, you just kind of knew that you had something that was helping people and you didn't have any hesitation?
I mean, I've always got like I was super nervous to get on this podcast. Um and I definitely do experience limiting beliefs, but the donkeys are my north star, right? The donkeys need me, right? And so that's what I hold on to. And so when people start saying things about me that aren't true, or they think I'm too much, or I, should pipe down, or um, I remember who I'm doing this for. And so, yes, I have limiting beliefs, but I just get too fired up about doing the right thing. Then I think that's what really drives me. But especially with some of my newer course content, when I'm diving deeper past some of the basics, I'll put some stuff together. And there's definitely times where I think, oh, who do you think you are? Um, so, yeah, all that stuff is real, but I just get too fired up.
You don't let
And
yourself stay there.
yeah, because they need me,
Hmm. I
I guess.
love that you said that, Megan, because that is something I've talked about here on the podcast and highlighted in others is that everyone has their hard days. They're guaranteed, especially when you're building a business, especially when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, posting something online, creating a course, letting people know your business has created something new, whatever it is. But when you have that strong filter and that strong why of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place, then you have something to kind of fall back on and help you in those moments. Just, that self-talk to kind of shift it, right? And remind yourself of what you know to be true and why you're doing what you're doing. And when I have heard it said multiple times, like when you have a strong enough why, you can do anything. Um, and that's so true. So I'm so glad that you said that. And so I want listeners to remember that for themselves and to identify what that is for them. Because then whether it's the website that you just want to throw your computer out the door because it's not saving, or, that I can't tell you how many times I've been with somebody who like the help article on the website of the software was not matching the picture of their own software. And that can be frustrating. There's so many things. And yeah, walk away from it, take a breath, but then don't give up. Don't quit, because there is a reason you started what you were doing in the first place. And what you're doing does matter. And so I love that. I want people to remember that. And you've already done some of this, but I have another question for you, which is, say you're hanging out, talking with a fellow equestrian entrepreneur about business, especially a business that meets your definition of success, right? Because that is so personal for every business owner. For you, what are some of the things that you've learned that you would share with that person about your experience so far and lessons they could take away to apply as they build their own business in a way that meets their version of success?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think really knowing who you are and what you stand for makes such a great foundation of how you're going to show up.
Mm.
Um, and when you kind of know that about yourself or what it is, no matter what, teach and dressage or hoof trimming or um, whatever it is that you want to share with people, there's most likely some sort of conviction or um, kind of knowing what you stand for. and why you want to share that with people in the first place. And generally, it has something to do with making someone's life better. Generally, I think that's what most of these businesses are. And if you focus on that, your life's just automatically gonna get better. I think, anyways. Like when you come from a service
Mm-hmm.
place, and then you gotta just do it. It can be so scary to put that thing out there. But as soon as you put it out, it gets a lot easier. Because like I said, my course is not the same course. I still have that original course. It's actually going into my vault here soon. I've been doing this long enough that I'm gonna get to have a vault. Um, and that'll just really be for fun if people wanna dive into the lore of where this all started. So but once you put the one thing out, putting the other things out after it is so much easier, and that's the beauty of an online course is you can update it and change it at any time. Like, I'm about to go learn at the Donkey Welfare Symposium from a veterinarian in Egypt about a hoof condition that I have been knowing or believing to be one thing, and he's about to come and probably challenge all of it, and he's got some, really good points. I'm really excited about the lecture, and if I'm gonna learn something new, then I'll have to come back to my audience and say, "Hey, guess what,
Mm,
guys?
yeah,
I think actually, it might be this. This is what I've learned," and then I can change,
yeah.
and that's a good thing, because that also sets your audience up to let them know that they can grow and change too, and we're
Mhm.
always learning something new, and oftentimes we are unlearning things, and that's fun and uncomfortable sometimes.
100%.
Um, but what else? And then just putting yourself out there. Toot your own horn, honey. That's what I'd say. Don't be afraid to talk yourself up. Um, and I don't mean that in a that's not an arrogant way. That's not like a, oh, I hope that's coming across that way. It's just be truthful about who you are and what you do and what you can do to help people. Because if you believe in yourself, then it's gonna be easier for them to believe in themselves to do the thing that you're trying to get them to do as well. It's a yeah.
That's no, that's so true, and I think because they can hear your heart in the rest of the podcast. So when you're saying things like toot your own horn, it is not coming across as like, get on there and
Yeah,
talk about how great you are. Because
yeah.
even the examples that you gave, and if they were to go visit your Facebook page right now or Instagram, they would 100% see that you're coming from a place of service, right? So you're sharing about what's possible, but your heart is coming from a place of service and you're sharing the transformations of what's possible, but it's not, "Look at me and how great I am," right? So, there's a
Yes.
difference in somebody who's and I've seen those posts too, and those posts are less likely to get the traction, right? "Look what I did. This is all about me and what I can offer you." But if it's, again, because it's in service to them, they can feel that difference. And so, again, for those listening, there's your takeaway and application. It's like, as you're creating your content, whether it's emails or whatever it is, if you're doing it from a place of service, they can feel it. They can tell the difference. And so that's going to build that connection. It's going to build that trust 100%.
Yes.
Talk to me about um, social media and platforms. Are you in all of the places right now? And how, especially since you said you don't have a virtual assistant. So what I'm hearing is you're creating the content. Are you scheduling it out ahead of time? Like, what does that look like for you? Not because, let me preface this with, so you don't feel pressure. I am not saying to everybody, do what Megan does. I'm just saying learn, right? See what works for her. And everybody's always curious, what works for different people. Take that and apply it to, again, your own version of success. So for everyone listening, this is not to say do what Megan does. I'm just asking to see, what does she do? What can we learn? So for you, what does that look like?
For me, it was my Facebook group.
Okay.
I really I monetized my Facebook group, and
Mhm.
I funnelized it too. I didn't quite realize I was doing that, but so over the years, I've hired multiple coaches too. I should definitely let people know that I've been in multiple programs, and sometimes they're light, spending, and other times I've invested, 5 figures in coaching. Um, not very often that much, but, there's been several coaching that I've done, but so my Facebook group really became my main source. That was where I could share what I was doing, is where I could build community, and then it's where I would pepper my offers through there, and I do a lot of the comment on this post. So, "Hey, you're a donkey owner and these are the things you want. Well, guess what? I'm someone who will make that happen for you. This is how I do it. And, if this is interesting to you, then, I'll do a soft call to action. So, like, drop DIY trim under the post or drop a donkey emoji. And so I get people to raise their hand. This is very hustly, though. This requires me to really be on. I have really cranked the wheel on this for a long time through this. So that's my main thing. And then I do have a professional Facebook page, professional personal page. You have that option now. And I do the same thing on that. I talk about what I do. And on that page, I pepper a little bit of my life as well, my chickens and different things that I'm doing.
Mhm.
And then but yeah, it's just been mostly my Facebook group. I do have an Instagram, but I have it set up to where whatever I post on my Facebook page just goes to Instagram. I have a TikTok, I don't use it. I have a YouTube channel that I am actually learning to use better. I just invested in some more training recently where I'm honestly trying to go not trying. Oops. I am working towards taking my business more into an evergreen format
Okay.
where my posts this is where I'll start playing with Facebook ads. But for the last 5 years, it's been organic social media, particularly my Facebook page. That is where my gold mine was.
And here's what I want people listening to take away, because I've seen this with coaching clients that I work with, is they will see one person that has success in one format, and then they think the takeaway is supposed to be, I need to go chase after that one thing. And what I want people to take away is not Megan saying Facebook groups is where it's at. It's instead that she focused the majority of her effort there. And so it wasn't spread across. So she wasn't doing Instagram live videos. Uh-uh. No, thank you. Go. I'm not. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, go. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So she wasn't doing Instagram Live, Facebook Live, TikTok, YouTube, podcasting, right? Like there weren't 6 different marketing methods and mechanisms happening at the same time, even though those can all be effective ways to market your equine business. But what she was doing is focusing her effort on one area, and then the return came. So that's what I want people to hear is like, I want people to stop thinking that they have to do everything, because lots of people are doing lots of different things and they see that work, but it's working because they're putting their energy and effort into that one focus, right? So it's like you have 100%, you can choose to give 10% to 10 things or 100% to one. And it's like logically, mentally, we know the return on investment is going to come when you give 100% to one, yet we still feel compelled to chase what everybody else is doing because that seems to be working for them. So I just want to be very clear on the takeaway here. It is not do Facebook groups. The takeaway is listen to how Megan focused her energy and effort to where people were already congregating and asking questions, and the community and the audience had been built. And so you doubled down on what was already working.
That's exactly right too. Because if you try to do all the things, you might as well just RIP, put me in the IP. There is no way.
Yeah.
Um, oh my god, like, even when you started to ask that question, I started to get exhausted. I'm like, "Oh my god, all the social medias." Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I did. I doubled down on my Facebook group, and that did work for me, but there's a lot of different ways, but just like you said, put your effort into one and focus on it.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, Megan, you've been so generous. Before we go, is there anything broad stroke that you're like, oh, for people who are building a business in the equine industry, I wish I could have shared this thing? Is there anything else you think they should know as we leave?
I get do it sooner, like, well, but then everything does happen in its divine timing when it's supposed to, but, you know, if do it. You gotta do it. I think that's one of the biggest things is we may feel scared to do the big thing, or even it's a small thing. But once you do it, but that might apply to all of us equestrians, right? There's something that we want to do, something new we want to learn. Um, you have to jump in there and do it. I wish I had something more profound.
No, do it scared is so true. I mean,
Yeah, to do it scared.
that's the definition of courage, right? Your fear's not gonna go away, but you jump
Yeah.
in and do it. And you didn't say this, and I'm not just saying this because I do coaching for a living, but I think that the fact that you invested in a coach, like you've said multiple times, like having somebody to guide you along so you weren't just doing it scared and wasting a lot of your time. Like lots you can do it without that, right? But you also um you fast tracked yourself in some ways rather than having to just learn it on the side without having someone to guide you.
Oh, yeah, you know what? You're so right. I actually, I haven't when I say I did this all by myself, I meant that I was, like, the person by myself, but no, from the very beginning, I had hired a coach, and I've hired coaches throughout the whole journey, and my business would not be what it is right now. So, actually, you're totally right. Hire a coach. Hire Denise.
That's why I said,
And
I
get
promise I'm not saying
Yeah, I
that, but I
know.
think it's worth noting that you've said that and as a
Oh,
business
yes.
owner.
No,
Yeah.
it is. I wouldn't have this level of success that I have had because I've had a so that's one thing we didn't really cover and, but, like, this online business has been incredibly successful. I do not have to trim hooves. I do that because I want to. This online business completely fuels my whole life now, which is just wild beyond my wildest dreams. And, I wouldn't have this level of success if I wouldn't have had coaching. So, that is a really good point. And then the other thing, I guess, the broad stroke is make sure you're always, like, leading or following your heart. Sometimes they say lead with your heart, but I feel like I'm following mine around. I'm like, "It says" like, it has little legs, and it's like, "Oh, no, we've got to go help
We're going
over
this way.
here, or we have to go help over here." And then I go, "Okay, I don't know, that seems scary, but" and then we do it, and it works out.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's so good. So good. Megan, I so appreciate you. I love what you're doing. I love that you have stepped
You.
out in faith multiple times and done what you knew was right for you and for the donkeys and the people you're helping. Tell everybody who is listening where they can go find you, which what I love is you can Google Donkey Farrier and find you pretty easily. Brilliant. But on top of that, tell them your website, what's the handle, places they can just quickly connect with you. And then, of course, I will link to you on the show notes too.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Denise. I've had a great time. I love doing these interviews, and thanks for staying with me as I ran wild here and there. But folks can find me at www.donkeyhooves.com, HOOVES. So donkeyhooves.com. And then Megan Hensley on Facebook. And you'll see me, it's me with a picture of a donkey. Those are my main channels right now. I do have my business Facebook page. It's called Donkey Hooves Done Right, but if I'm honest, it's kind of in the middle of I was playing with that name, so it used to say the Donkey Farrier, probably gonna change it back to that, but that's another thing that you guys can do. Don't be afraid to play around with some names, so yeah, but donkeyhooves.com and then Megan Hensley on Facebook.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on what you've built and are continuing to
Oh,
build. I love
yes.
it.
Thank you. You too. I really appreciate it.
All right, friends. I hope you loved Megan as much as I did. So many good golden nuggets. So here's what I want to invite you to do. I was taking notes as I was listening to Megan, and I've put together some takeaways. Oftentimes, I will share those with you here on the podcast. Today, I'm going to encourage you to head to the show notes to get my takeaways. All right. If you go to stormlily, LILY.com/189 for episode 189, you're going to find there the takeaways that I'm walking away from this episode and this interview with Megan, and things that I hope that you will be able to take away and apply to your own business. Now, some of those things I highlighted as Megan and I were having the conversation, but there were some other things I was just noting as she and I were talking, and I'd love to share those with you. So head over to stormlily.com/189 and you can get those. And then, of course, I'll have the links to Megan's website, Facebook, and all the things there as well. But my hope for you, as you know, is that you're not just inspired and encouraged, but that you truly do have at least one thing that you are taking from what you learned from Megan today that you can use to apply as you build and grow your own equine business in a way that meets your version of success. Now, of course, if you want some help along with that process, I would love to work with you in a coaching capacity. You can learn more about what I offer and what that looks like if you head to the website as well, stormlily.com, Lily.com. And you can also learn there about Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program. And then I have some new fun things in the works for 2026 as well. So if we're not email friends, here's your official invite too. Find me on, I almost said find me on social media. Sure, 100% you can do that, Storm Lily Marketing. But also get on my email list because that is always the first to know list. When I have an opening for coaching, when I have a new program coming available, anything like that is going out to my email list first. Okay, so if we're not email friends, jump over to stormlily.com and grab one of my free resources, get onto my email list so that we can stay in touch and I can let you know all the new fun things that we may have going on for you as an equestrian entrepreneur. Thanks so much for joining me here, friends. I'm so grateful for you. I am so grateful for how you are serving the equine industry. And please know I am over here cheering you on all the way. Have an amazing day, friends.